Going on, Falcon fan? Or Ricondo coming back at you with another video. So today, and I haven't been on here in a long time. It's been about a week. We're getting ready for mandatory minicamp starting tomorrow with our Atlanta Falcons. And today, I wanted to come over here and have a quick Falcon fan talk Monday about some of the things that's going on with Atlanta Falcons. First of all, we're going to talk about elephant in the room. Kirk Cousins, um, will he show up for mandatory minicamp? The word on the street that he will. We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about Armbo Ebiketie. We definitely want to get, what I think about him going into this 2025 season and his contract year and how important this could be for him moving forward. And then last but not least, guys, I want to talk about the Atlanta Falcons offense and could it be one of the best offenses in 2025? And guys, I believe it can be. So we're definitely going to talk about that today. But that with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit that notification bell so you're not dropping another video. Please hit the like buttons. I know you guys like to hear what I talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come hear me talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So hold on just a minute. Sorry about that, guys. What's going on, Georgia, Texas boy? Yeah, guys, we're gonna get into it today. Like I said, we know our Atlanta Falcons start their mini camp tomorrow. Um, some things that they definitely getting ready, finishing up probably some installs. Getting ready for training camp. We know the Atlanta Falcons and all the NFL teams going like a 5 week hiatus after this. So this is the last time, these guys gonna be to get together for, the ball get rolling. So it's the season almost here. We up on 100 days, guys. I know you guys excited. I can't wait for training camp this year. Last year, they kind of put us out. We wasn't able to go, but this year we're going to be back in full force, hopefully, and we'll be able to get to see some of these guys play in training camp. So I love to get that. But like I said, mandatory mini camps tomorrow, and we can't get past it. We got to talk about one particular player that going to be talked about, not just from the Atlanta Falcons standpoint, but 100% from the national media standpoint, and that is Mr. Kirk Cousins himself, right? We all heard the news this past weekend. I think it was Friday. Aaron Rodgers signed a contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was the last probably opportunity that Kirk Cousins had potentially start for a franchise this upcoming season, which means that he's going to be, for all intents and purpose right now, is the backup for Atlanta Falcons. Yes, he's the probably, in NFL history, probably the most expensive backup quarterback ever. With the 27 million he's owed this year, then the 10 million he's owed for next year, because we picked up, that option on him for next year. Yes, Kirk Cousins is on the hook to be the Atlanta Falcons backup quarterback. Now we all was aware he did show up some points in April for OTAs and things like that. However, the last recent past two OTAs he was not present. Right, it is voluntary, so he does not have to be there. Even though everybody made a big deal about it that he was not there, but it has been reported that he will show up tomorrow for the mandatory minicamp, right? Of course, it's mandatory, so if you don't show up, that does levy a fine on players, and he probably just ain't willing to, get fined, and like I said, guys, for me personally, I think Kirk Cousins is a professional. I think he's going to be a good teammate, even that it probably do not want to be. But I do believe that he's going to come in. He's going to be a trooper. I think he's going to try to help the team. Now, obviously, he still want to start for somebody. But to be honest with you, you look around the league right now. It's just that opportunity not there. Atlanta Falcons was pretty much on the opportunity, but when they picked up Michael Penix Jr. last year in the draft, it was kind of writing on the wall. And then he didn't help himself. that 4 or 5 game stretch that he had was just terrible. So they had to make the decision to go ahead and move on from Kirk Cousins. So that's where we're at right now. We know, um, and it's not like it's a surprise because we have to go back to January, right? And when Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot both said that moving forward, Michael Penix Jr. is going to be the starter and Kirk Cousins was going to be the backup. Now, a lot of people thought they would just, calling the bluff, trying to create some kind of leverage for themselves to get a better offer from teams, to bring in Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins, went upon himself to say the reason why he played so bad because he was injured. That was during the Super Bowl time frame. So, kind of rubbed a lot of fans along the wrong way because if you were injured, why did you still go out there and play? And we all know the answer to that. If he was injured, the reason he went out there to play because he didn't want to he was looking over his shoulder, right? And that's the problem when you pay a quarterback, that much money, and then you draft a quarterback in the first round, he's gonna start looking over his shoulder. That's exactly what Kirk Cousins was doing. So if he was injured, he went out there and performed every week. He just didn't perform well, right? And unfortunately, what happened was he got benched for Michael Penix Jr. and history was written. So that's the where it is. But they've been saying it all the whole time that he was going to be the backup quarterback. We just did not believe it, right? That's what it really boils down to. So at some point in time, we just got to, when somebody tell you something, you just got to believe them, right? And that's what they've been saying. Michael said he didn't perform well. I tried to, say it the right way. I could have said he just played like crap, right? But yeah, he didn't perform well. So, they told us, man. They told us what the deal was. We just didn't believe him. Now, I do believe they was trying to trade him, but in I do believe reports they was trying to to get a good deal that was beneficial for the Atlanta Falcons. At the same time, like I said, he's a backup quarterback. He's our backup quarterback. He's a good backup quarterback. I think Atlanta Falcons got a good quarterback room, right? Long as Kirk Cousins don't come in and being a malcontent, and I don't believe he will be. I think he's going to really be a good teammate, veteran guy. He's going to, help with the game plan. He's not going to teach Michael Penix, nothing like that. But at the same time, yeah, like I said, yeah, you being nice. Yes, I was. I was being nice, man. I was being nice. I really was. All right. So, but there you have it, guys. We're going to see if he actually talk to the media this mini camp period because a lot of people want to hear from him, and we'll see what's going on 3:30. So we'll see if he talked to the media. See can he get clear up some of that injury things that he was talking about, and maybe we can close the book on that. But at the same time, hopefully he comes in, and we never know. Knock on wood, if a quarterback does get hurt around the league, they do have a proven starter in Kirk Cousins. Somebody can go in, to a potential team that's trying to win this season, can come in, he can be their starter, fill in for them. So that's the way it's going to look. So I think going into training camp, Kirk Cousins is going to be there. I also believe that if a deal comes arise, somebody will, Atlanta Falcons won't hesitate to actually go ahead and pull the trigger to let Kirk Cousins go as well. So that's just my opinion. I think that's the where it stands. So we just gotta, just see where it lies, right? So all right. So there you have it on Kirk Cousins, guys. Not going to talk about it that much longer because there's no need to, right? We already know. I don't think nothing changed since January, to be honest with you. Only situation changes that all the teams that needed quarterbacks found their quarterbacks, for the near future, and Kirk Cousins was, still holding the clipboard, and that's what it boils down to. All right, so let's get into our next topic, and I've been wanting to talk about this topic for a week. I'm sorry, like I said, I haven't been out here for a week, but I really wanted to talk about this topic for a week, and that's Mr. Arnold Ebiketie, right? And we talking about Armor Katie. So we all know Armor Katie is going into his fourth and final season for the Atlanta Falcons, right? Which means, since he was a second round pick, he's in a contract year, right? And we always hear the term where players in a contract year, they come and they play, they got something to play for, right? Because they know, tomorrow's never guaranteed in the NFL because somebody always come in trying to take your spot. You know, Matt Ryan always said it's not for long, right? You just written out of the locker room. That's how he always said it. However, Armor Katie has opportunity to, to play well and get that contract that he so deserved, right? You look over his last two seasons, he had 6 sacks. Pretty much that led the Atlanta Falcons team in sacks. You know, with those that number, right? Either 6.5 or 6 kind of led the team in sack numbers. So Armor Katie, really, if you looked at what he was able to do towards the last part of the season, that's when he really started to come on. Like he started to figure things out. And you hopefully, that trajectory that you've seen, towards the end of the season is what we see now. Right. Now, one important thing that we do know, the Atlanta Falcons drafted two pass rushers. So I think the writing is on the wall. I think Armor Katie probably won't be back for Atlanta, but that does not mean that he still should not play for that contract, right? Because, like I said, you want to play for your next contract. So even though he's going to be playing for the Atlanta Falcons this year, I think he's going to be auditioning for a lot of other teams in NFL, which could benefit the Atlanta Falcons for the season in 2025. So that's what I think. I think this is a big deal. He came in, he said called him Dr. Sack and all that stuff and things like that, but it just never, panned out for Armor Katie to put up more. Like I said, if you was impressed by what he did over the last half of the season, I really was. So I like what we seen, and you just hope you see that trajectory going up. It's going to be huge. I think he's going to play a factor in this defense this year. For one reason, like I said, he's going to be in a contract year. Now, unfortunately for Armor Katie, which is a bad thing, and this I really wanted to talk about this as well. And I might talk about this in another video, but the fact that coaching staff change and keep changing, it hurts players. I don't care what nobody say. Yes, some players can play in any scheme and they can dominate because they're just that great. But a lot of times when players have to learn a new defense year in and year out, it's not really conducive for especially a young player coming out of college. You look at Armor Katie first 4 seasons here, right? He just have never been in a position to where he's able to learn, a defense, get a defensive head coach, a defensive coach, and stick with that guy. And so you look throughout his career, he don't had defensive coach after defensive coach, different scheme after different scheme, and it probably takes him a while, to figure it out and be able to be his best self. So, like I said, I think that's bad for Armor Katie, but at the same time, the numbers, we just have not seen what we need to see for him. He kind of remind me of what we've seen from Vic Beasley a lot of years. Great off the ball, almost there, quick, about to get the quarterback, then he does not deliver at the end, right? Now, towards the end of the season, that's not what we've seen. Towards the end of the season, I thought Armor Katie was really, really good. And if we can see that, to start the season, starting with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that would be really great. So, but this is his contract year, guys. I think this is a big year for him. I think he has no other choice but to deliver because if your second contract, especially for a second round pick, that's when you start to see if you're going to have a long, luxurious career in this NFL. You want to get to your second contract, right? Especially the rookie, especially when they took the rookie scale, upside down. Because you guys remember, rookies used to make a whole lot of money, especially those first round guys, right? But they flipped it, right? So now, your second contract is what you're trying to get to, right? So Armor Katie is right in that space right now. He has to deliver. Another guy, Kyle Pitts is another guy. on the offensive side of the ball. But for Army Katie, this is huge for him. This is really, really huge for him. And I believe that, you know, this he could have a big season, especially, because I believe the pressure is going to be on our younger guys. Hate to say it, but guys, Jalen Walker, James Pierce, um, those guys, it's going to be on those first round picks. We expect them to come in. We expect them to help, you know, booster that pass rush, be really, really good. But Armor Ebiketie, he just need to come in, do what he do, and like I said, if he can pick up the what he finished last year, that's what we want to see from Armor Ebiketie. Georgia Texas boy said AK has been consistent with 5 and 6 sacks, but never consistently during week 1 through 7, 0 sacks. Week 8 through 18, 5, 6 sacks. And so this is right here. So Georgia Texas boy, this is exactly what I mean when I say about the coaching staff, right? So it seemed like it take him a while to figure out, the new defensive scheme, right? It just seemed like what it is. And it's not his fault, right? Because they keep changing defensive coordinators on this guy. I mean, he just think about it. I think it was did he have Dean Pease? I think he did have Dean Pease. We know he had Ron Nielsen. Then he had Jamie Lake, right? It's just now he got Jeff Ulbrich, so another freaking defensive coordinator. It's just one defensive coordinator after the other, one different scheme after different scheme, right? But based off what we're hearing about the textile defense, this might be the best defense that's suited for the way he played football. So we're going to see. We're definitely going to be able to see and find out. But the numbers that you just posted, week 1 through 7. Then the second half of the season, that shows exactly what I'm talking about, where he has just figured it out and he started to play better because it seemed like he learned the defensive scheme. Making excuses, but that's what it seems like when you look at that what you just posted. So great point. You said James Pierce Jr. is going to leap over AK in reps. Yeah, you might be right, because he right now he's the future. He might be right. In and of that case, Armor Ebiketie could definitely be, a designated pass rusher. I think you could put Armor Ebiketie and James Pierce Jr. on the field together, right? I wouldn't mind that. So we'll see how it pans out. Now they got a plethora of pass rushers, right? And don't forget about Brandon Trice, who we won't see into training camp, right? Should be ramping back up, should be ready to go by then. But you add him to the mix, you add Jalen Walker, you add James Pierce Jr., you add Armor Ebiketie, you add Leonard Floyd, the guy that we went and got in free agency, right? Then you think about, Malone. I think D'Angelo Malone might be the odd man out in this pass rush. I just hate to say it. But he even played a little bit better toward the second half of the season as well. So I think all these guys got an opportunity to put pressure on the quarterback. But Armor Ebiketie, this is his make or break season. George Chase Boy said, I'd rather have AK than Steven Means. Yeah, definitely. No, that's why Steve Means is not with us. Art said, hello, bro. I need a suggestion. Shoot, whatever you mean. All right, so there you go, guys. Just let me know what you think about Armor Ebiketie. I think when you think about, what he's going to be able to bring to the table this year, going into a contract year, I think it's going to be really huge for him. So we definitely got to see, what he's going to bring to the table. All right, so let's get into my next topic, which is going to be free agents and trades, right? So we've been hearing a lot of rumors, and I want to talk about this because it seems like every time a player is let go or, is in trade rumors or something like that, they look at the ties to the coaching staff and things like that, and they kind of say, can the Atlanta Falcons try to go get this guy to make the team better? And to be honest with you, looking at, some of these players, which I think would be really a really boost for this defense, especially in particular because most of these guys that they're talking about is on the defense. We talking about Pratt that got released from the Cincinnati Bengals. We're talking about Jair Alexander that got released from the Green Bay Packers. And then we're talking about Jalen Ramsey, who's on the trading block from the Miami Dolphins, right? All those guys would definitely make the Atlanta Falcons defense better. Unfortunately, when you're looking at guys like Pratt and Ramsey, right, it's contracts that you got to think about, right? Because contract situations, they're going to get paid, right? And then if you're looking at our situation with our highest paid backup quarterback, that's kind of hurting us with the cap situation. So that's why, going to get those guys, even though I believe it could be a tremendous boost to our defense, I don't see it in the cards for Atlanta Falcons to be able to do it, right? So, and then you got to ask yourself, do you want to put all your eggs in those baskets again like you did last year to try to boost up the defense, and you're not 100% sure, what you're going to get from everybody. Like I said, one thing that we do know from this Atlanta Falcons team is that they're young. They're really, really young, and that's where you start to get a little concerned about the youth, right? So you want us to do really, really good in 2025, but at the same time, it's a young team, so you don't know. Maybe they're a year away with this youth, right? You look at all the promising draft picks that we got this year. Maybe they're a year away, right? The year one, the year two jump could be really, really great, right? You got Michael Penix Jr. coming in his first full season. Maybe it's going to take him a while to get it going. I mean, it's just being realistic when you start thinking about, where the Atlanta Falcons are in the youth. So going out and get a guy like, Jalen Ramsey and Jair Alexander, who's going to be big help for this defense, right? We're considered one player away. We get that player, we're a lock. That's how you got to consider. So, but I think the biggest issue is the cap, and like I said, having Kirk Cousins, with that $37 million cap hit, between this year and next year, I think it hurts Atlanta Falcons. So, and then you got to look at future contracts. You got to look at Drake London's future contract. Got to look at Bijan Robinson future contract, right? So that's where it started to get a little tricky when you start to talk about guys, because you got a guy like Jair Alexander, right? Has ties with the coaching staff, right? With Jerry Gray, right? Jerry Gray coached him, so you can see that, where you can see, well, hey, Jerry Gray knows what Jair Alexander is all about. He know he's a stud, so yeah, bring him in, right? But then you got a guy like Jalen Ramsey, who's said Raheem Morris is one of the best guys that ever coached him. So you see the relationship there, right? We know that we kind of weak at the linebacker position. So you bring in a guy like Jermaine Pratt, right? That's another guy that's getting released by the Bengals, right? And he's in, but like I said, Jalen Ramsey, Jermaine Pratt, these guys want to get paid, right? So you're adding salary, to the table where you really don't have none, and you got to start paying some of your young stars on the offensive side of the ball. So got to think about it. Yes, it would be nice to get those guys, right? Because they'll definitely make our defense better. It's no doubt about it. It's no sugarcoating it. Yes, we got young guys we just brought in, but you bring a Jalen Ramsey in, pair him up with AJ Terrell. You bring a Jair Alexander in, pair him up with AJ Terrell. Man, what else can you say? So, you bring a Jermaine Patton in, one of the best linebackers within the NFL last year. You bring him in, pair him with a Caden Ellis, Divine Diablo. I'm just saying, you have where you can actually be a whole lot better if you was to bring those guys in. But like I said, I don't think the Atlanta Falcons can afford those guys right now based off the cap, and then based off draft capital with the Jalen Ramsey trade, what would you have to give up to get Jalen Ramsey? And if you give up a lot, you definitely want to sign him to a contract. So that's what I mean. Now, if he get released, that's a whole different story. Jair Alexander is released. Jermaine Pratt is released. So you might be able to get those guys for bargain deals. And if you can get those guys for bargain deals, by all means, go ahead and take that choice, take that chance, and be able to do that. But I just think, when you're talking about free agents and trades, just those guys in particular, you want to have an opportunity to get those guys, but yeah, maybe not. All right, so 330 said, can good scheme and player placement cover the youth issues on our defense or not? So, if you go back to some later older videos, I talked about this. All about the coaching staff, man. I think we're talented enough, right? Um, so when you talk about youth, right, and let's just put it out there. I don't like to talk about it, but we had 4 rookies start in the Super Bowl team in 2016. So it's not about youth, right? It's about coaching. It just put out there. So if because we got talented guys on this roster. I'm talking about the young guys. They are talented. We all know that. So the coaches get these guys, in positions to succeed. And like I just said, we had 4 starters, you know, you know, rookies played in the Super Bowl. We had 4 rookies. Then you had Grady Jarrett, who's just in his second year, who had at the time had the sack record in the Super Bowl with 3 sacks. So, we had young guys went to the Super Bowl. So it's not. I'm not saying that the Atlanta Falcons doomed because they're young. What I'm trying to say is that coaching is going to play a big part in this. Coaching is really going to be important. It is. So, to your point, yes, good scheme, which it seemed like it's going to be simple. These guys to go out and play and do what they do, utilize that talent that we're talking about, and then I think the coaching is going to really be really important. So that's what I feel about this young defense. If you can get the coaching down, make sure they put them in the spots to do what they do. James Pierce Jr., your job is just to get off the quarterback. Jalen Walker, your job just get after the quarterback, right? Make it simple, right? Xavier Watts, your job is to stay back deep. Don't let nothing get behind you, and do what you did in college. You know, read and react and make plays. Billy Bowman, come in, be physical like you were, be that physical presence at the nickel. Utilize that speed, the size you got. Being able to be a little, a little rock waller, man. That's what we want to see. So those are kind of things that I think that if the coaching staff can get this out those guys, that's what we want to see. Jared Chase was said 3 there. I think we went after players who came from championship programs. Yeah, you are right. Right. You look at the programs, and that's a great point. You look at Oklahoma, you look at Notre Dame, you look at the University of Georgia. Tennessee's been, a team that been up there in the SEC for a while as well. And a lot of people keep sleeping on James Pierce Jr., but I think I can agree with Jeff Ulbrich said. He might be the best pure pass rusher in this draft, right? I know, you're looking at the guy out of Penn State, right? But James Pierce Jr., man, the guy is just, he has elite skill coming off the ball. It's no other way about it. And, with that size, if he can just put it all together, which he was able to do, you see that. So I love what we've seen out of James Pierce. So I agree. The programs is going to help, right? Guys that a lot of them seem like they're about their business, mature. I think they're going to come in. They're going to make some contributions early on, right? And we might see some of these guys end up starting, right? So don't be surprised if you see some guys starting right away. Some of these head coaches like to hold these rookies back and don't give it to them right away. Sometimes they take it. They just take it, right? Because the talent is there. We just got to see it, come out. So, guys, that's how I feel about the free agency. I like our defense, the way it's built now, but you could never not add, more players to help your defense out. But I just think the Atlanta Falcons, the way the cap salary set up, bringing these guys in would be tough. Even though I like, if any of those guys was to come to Atlanta Falcons. All right, all right. Let's get into my last topic, guys, and this right here, is one of the topics that I definitely want to talk about today. And it's could could the Falcons have one of the best offenses in the league in 2025, right? And let's see what's on. You said, nope, except Mad, he got to wear 51. Remember, Raheem? Say what? He said, remember Raheem had to emphasize playing rookies this year. He did mention that. He definitely mentioned that. It's crazy. And it had that Abdul Carter all off season. Yep, yeah, you're right. We haven't heard anything about him at all, at all. We know he wasn't getting Lawrence Taylor number though, so I don't even know what he was gonna do with that. That never can bring coming down the pipe. Never coming down the pipe. Um, yes, we will have one of the best teams in 2025. Yeah, man, just go all the way. Just go all the way. But right now, I'm just talking about the offensive side of the ball. So, you know, last year, guys, the Atlanta Falcons had the sixth best total offense in the league last year, and you were like, what? How is that even possible? We only won. We barely got over 500, right? Or we didn't get over 500 because we were 89. But so that's amazing, right? You think about it, six total offense in the league last year, right? And most of that with Kirk Cousins. But let's think about it. Most of that with Kirk Cousins, but for 5 games he played like straight trash. So how in the world did the Atlanta Falcons have the six total offense, and for like a 5 game stretch we played like really bad, right? So let's just tell you that the young Zach Robinson, our young offensive coordinator, did a pretty good job. He did a pretty decent job, right? Now you look at the numbers, you know, 369 total yards a game, 239 passing, 130 yard rushing, right? You like the balance there, right, between pass and rush. Um, but we only had averaged about 22.9 points a game. So that's where you look at the yards, right? So you look at the total offense, you look at the number of yards. So that means being able to move the ball 20 to 20 seems like it wasn't an issue, right? Putting points on the board where we kind of fail. Now we look at the 12 field goals we missed. That has a lot to do with it as well, right? Because those 12 field goals probably cost us wins, right? We know it cost us some wins. You think about the Commanders game, you think about the Saints game, you think about some of those games. So missing field goals cost us wins, but 12 missed field goal is huge, right? That's why special teams counts. Special teams matters, and people need to really realize that, right? Because you miss 12 field goals, and then you go 8-9, and you just missed the playoffs. You're like, wow, right? And then you got the six total offense, but so the potential is there, right? Zach Robinson, a guy coming in first time calling plays full time, right? Because he had called it before, like in preseason with the Rams. But this guy coming in first time calling plays, with a veteran quarterback that was, little still coming back from the Achilles, so could not put his complete total offense like he wanted to put it in, right? That's why you saw a lot of the pistol, right? When you think about a pistol, because you can go either way with the running game, right? That's why they run a lot of pistol, because Kirk Cousins just was not going to be able to do some of the bootlegs and the play actions like he did, in the past, right? That's what Kirk Cousins made Kirk Cousins famous, right? Because he was a really good a play action pass quarterback, and he could just some of the things he was not able to do last year because of that Achilles, coming back from the Achilles, and then apparently he was hurt for like 5 game stretch, but just made it even worse. But now moving forward, Zach Robinson coming into his second season, right? Got a feel for what his players can do, being able to put them in more positions. I think the offense is going to be looking different this year. I really believe the offense is going to be looking different. So we just talked about players. First of all, we got to talk about, you know, the unicorn himself, Mr. Pitts, number 8, right? Can he get him to go in like we hope he can, right? That's going to unlock this offense. When I go back to one of my videos, I said he's the key, right? I feel like he's one of the key players, um, that if the Atlanta Falcons going to be able to do something special, Kyle Pitts is one of the keys, right? And it's going to be up to Zach Robinson to unlock that key, right? If he can unlock it and add Kyle Pitts to this element, to that 369 total yards, right? We're going to be special because now Kyle Pitts did not have a bad season. I know everybody looking at it, but he played decent. He didn't play to the number 4 overall pick. I understand that, but he didn't play decent, right? Especially when you think about, he was like the 5th option a lot of times, in progressions and things like that. He got targeted the 5th most, um, by all the players on the team. I think, well, take that back, the 4th most. I think Bijan was 5th, right? But he was right behind Kyle. So, but he's the key, right? So if Zach Robinson can get him going, right? You look at the ability to utilize the play action pass, right? And the reason why I say that's going to be huge, because of our 2 outstanding running backs that we have now. We talked about 130 yards a game rushing for this team, but it could be even more special this year, right? We heard Bijan Robinson talking about, starting to get those explosive plays, right? I think it's like eating at him, right? Because he's so close to breaking so many runs. You look at, I think he has probably the most 10 plus runs, over the last couple of seasons. Now he just don't have the big long runs because somehow, some way, he's always not able to break that last tackle. But that's what he's working on this year, right? So you just add that element into he the coaches are cognizant of it. The player understand what needs to happen, and that he's determined to start to break those big plays, right? So you add that element in, right? Now you add the athleticism of Michael Penix Jr. being able to carry out some of those bootlegs, being able to run the play action, being able to get up on the center more, being able to play out play action pass, because the way the Atlanta Falcons run the ball, which is how excellent they are at running the ball, you have to have linebackers cheat up first. You just have to. They have no choice, because if they don't, they're gonna get gashed by our dynamic duo in our Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. So I really believe that Zach Robinson coming in, unlocking this offense, right, and it is going to be different. It's going to be different for um, you know, couple of reasons. One reason, because Zach Robinson coming into his second season, he's not coming in new, doing a new install, trying to learn his players, trying to learn everything. Right? He had a whole off season to come up with a game plan, kind of know what Michael Penix is all about. Right? Still learning, I get it, but you're going to take some of the things that Michael Penix did well at the University of Washington and implement that into what your offense, the Atlanta Falcon offense, right? Put that in, and then utilize your dynamic playmakers that you got. Drake London feels like he got something to prove this year. I think he's going to have a good year this year. Darnell Mooney, 8 yards away from 1,000 yards, almost had 2,000-yard receivers, right? We had a running back who got over 1,500, all-purpose yards. I mean, it's just the sky's the limit for this offense, guys, and not to talk about the offensive line, right? Because all this happens because the offensive line and the way it's been able to be one of the most consistent offensive lines. Not the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, I get it, but it's top 5 easily, right? Even with Ryan Newsel taking over at center, I still think the Atlanta Falcons have one of the best offensive lines and they have proven it over and over. You know, they can run the ball. We know they can run the ball. Without a doubt, when team come in to the Atlanta Falcons, one thing they do know, they got to stop the run, right? They got to stop the run. And one of the most efficient passes in the league, and you can look this up, is the play action pass, especially when you got a good running game, especially when you got a big running game, because the defense, they have to pick their poison, right? They have to figure out, you know, we got to stop the run, but if you can play off that run, man, sky's the limit for you. So yes, the answer to my own question, yes, the Atlanta Falcons definitely can have one of the best offenses in the league next year, without a doubt, without a doubt. Now it's going to take time. You know, they don't need to skip steps. Michael Penix Jr. need to make sure that he's comfortable in his offense. Stuff that doesn't do well, I think they shouldn't play it. They shouldn't do those plays, right? Stuff he does really well. You know, let's master those. You know, there's some things that he's going to have to get better at, right? You know, he throws a hard pass, right? That ball comes out of his hand like a rocket. But you know, putting a little touch on ball sometimes, right? You know, but his anticipation is already there. You can see that. Um, I seen a breakdown of him. You know, I don't know how many times Michael Penix threw the ball, and guys were still coming, still haven't came out their break yet. Man, it's just amazing. So you know, I love his anticipation that he throws with, and it's just gonna get better and better once you start to learn your guys. I mean, you just see the chemistry that he had with his receivers in Washington. Man, it was like no other. It really was. And you know, just to add that running element with Bijan Robinson, who has the potential to you know be offensive player of the year this year. You know, it's just it's scary, man. It's really scary to think about how good this offense can be, right? Michael Penix Jr. just got to put it together. You know, I did a video talking about the pressure that is going to have on him, but I'm just talking about offense as a whole, right? Right now, you can't find a hold in this offense, right? You know, it's not perfect. It's not perfect, guys. Um, you know, Matthew Bergeron still coming along, but he's getting better and better. You heard about, you know, already getting it with David Amiyata in OTAs, guys. These guys can't even hit each other, and they already get into it in OTAs. Gotta love it, right? Caleb McGarry, man, he was a pleasant surprise last year. You know, beside Chris Lindstrom, you know he's going to be good. Jake Matthews just is a stellar pro. He continued to do the things he do. So um, this offense definitely has the potential to be really good this year. Um, so Darnell Mooney is going to come back, right? Drake London is going to do what he do. The key, I'm gonna keep calling him the key until you know we unlock that key. That's Kyle Pitts. He's the key, right? But then you look at some of these guys that could be come in and show some flashes. Some of the undrafted guys like a Nick Nash, right? Um, we don't know who's going to be the guy this year. Training camp, that's one thing I can't wait to training camp. I know you guys can't either, but we're going to find out who's going to take a job from somebody, because that's a lot of times what happened, especially in training camp. I forget what year it was when the Atlanta Falcons decided had to keep 7 receivers, because that's how good that receiving class that during training camp was. They all played well, and somebody from another position had to get cut because the Atlanta Falcons decided to keep 7 receivers. You know, that's the kind of conflict you want to put the coaching staff in, the front office in, you know, that everybody playing so hard. You know, they got a tough decision who to cut from the team. That's what you want to see. That's the kind of competition you want to see. I think this is going to be one of the most competitive training camps that we have seen in a while. Look how many pass rushers we got. Look how many receivers we got. Look how many DBs we got. You know, all these guys is jockeying for positions, jockeying for starting roles. jockeying to contribute early in the season, and it's a lot of talent, right? We talked about the youth, but it's a talented team, and I can't wait to see what this team is going to be about. But when we talk about the offense, this going to be a really good offense. They can just put it together. It's all going to depend on number 9. I get it, but you know if he can just bottle some of that magic that he had at the University of Washington and sprinkle it on the Atlanta Falcons with the playmakers that he got, you know, the coaching staff put him in the good positions to be able to make the plays. I think, man, we're gonna. I am a glass half full kind of guy. Everybody knows that about me. If you've been listening to me over the years, but at the same time, um, it's warranted, man. This offense have opportunity, and they say people lie, but numbers don't lie, right? And if you look at this offense, look at the offensive line numbers over the last 4 years, right? They've been one of the best offensive lines. Bijan Robinson been one of the best running backs. Um, Drake London and Darnell Mooney was almost 2,000-yard receivers. That happened. Those numbers are real, right? Tyler Algier is probably one of the best backup running backs in the league. That's the fact, right? And Kyle Pitts, however you want to say about it, um, he's probably one of the most talented players in the league. Just have not shown it consistently, and if we can unlock that, man, the sky's the limit for this offense. So, yes, when you stick back and you look at it, I do believe that the Atlanta Falcons have a great opportunity to be one of the best offenses in the league next year. And two, Georgia Texas boy, he said, just like he said, one of the best teams in the league in 2025. All right, so let's go to some of these comments before we get up out of here. He said, with a hobble quarterback. Yeah, man, who was 6 in the league with Kirko, right? We can run any type of scheme with his offense. Year 2 is about to be exciting. Playbook will be wide open. Yeah, man. You know why? Because that kid behind center can touch every part of the field with that pass, with that arm, man. It's going to be wide open. He can touch every part of the field. So you're right. It's going to be special. We got, like I said, Center is our biggest hole, and Nuzul is not bad. You're right. Like I said, even with Drew Dalman going, Ryan Nuzul there, he played 8 games last year. And I repeat, it was 6 total offense. Ryan Nuzul played 8 games last year. He started 8 games for Atlanta Falcons last year, half of the season. So, it's not like, we had a big drop off when Drew Dalman was not in the lineup. That's why they was willing to let him go, and they weren't going to pay him that much money anyway. So, but man, I'm excited by it. So Dark Bar said cornerback Jair Alexander. So you're kind of late. I talked about it earlier, but they don't have the money, man. I'll be honest with you. They just don't have the money. Now if they can bring him in on a team friendly deal, by all means, right? And like I said, he does have the history with Jerry Gray, right? Jerry Gray knows what kind of player he is, and I can't just imagine, Jair Alexander on the other side of AJ Terrell. That would be something special. I agree, it would be, but I just don't think they have the money, and it's because of Kirk Cousins. It's just what it really boils down to. And now the fact that he's a free agent though helps the situation because he can come in on a prove it deal, this year, and and build back up his stock. He can't do that, right? They did just pay Mike Hughes, money, a 2-year deal, I don't know what that would mean, you know, bringing Jair in, but I can tell you this much: he would be the number two corner if he came in. So I don't know how much the Atlanta Falcons feel about that, what they would do. But you know, man, like I said, Terry Fontenot said itself. You're always trying to make the team better, no matter what, right? Bringing in Jair Alexander would definitely do that, you know. But like I said, I don't want it to be like a Justin Simmons thing, bringing in Justin Simmons and don't live up to the hype, because that's not what we want. We want to be able to build a team, not one player coming in and saying that they's the answer. So, you say, am I confident in Mike Hughes? I mean, he didn't play bad last year. And see, you misunderstand what I'm saying. If they brought Jair Alexander in, he would start 100%. But like I said, I don't know what they do that because of the. First of all, it's just a money thing. It's not about hurt feelings and things like that. You're trying to make the team better. It's just like last year they brought in Justin Simmons, and Richard Grant got put on the bench. It's just the way it is, right? They did just pay Mike Hughes a 2-year deal. They just gave him a 2-year deal, probably more than like a 1-year deal, but with the guarantees. But at the same time, if you bring in Jair Alexander, who's a free agent, right? He's not somebody you have to give up draft capital for anything like that. You could be right. Now the word on the street, Ravens are looking at him, and we always say the rich get richer, right? But you know, we don't know. We just don't know what the Atlanta Falcons thinking right now. I do know they got a lot of guys on the offensive side of the ball that they got to start to pay here soon. So that's where their focus could be. Like I say, Jared would raise AJ to new heights because they both competitive. Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. I want everybody to hear me when I say this. If the Atlanta Falcons get Jair Alexander, I'm with it. I just don't think they're gonna get it. Just what I'm saying. So don't mistake me when I say I don't want him. I do want him, but I just don't think they have an opportunity. Um, they say he loved Hughes. Yeah, man. He played well, man. He really played well. I thought this was one of his best seasons, you know, in his career last year. That's why he was able to get that deal. So, and let's be honest, man. AJ hasn't had a companion, consistently on the other side in a while. They're always bringing in somebody else new. So, like says, Hughes is good. He just got hurt. Yeah, he did towards the end of the season, and then we showed some glimpses. Do we expect Kirk or Chains to be reported tomorrow? The word on the street that he will be there tomorrow. That's the word on the street right now. Now, he don't want to get fined, man. That's mandatory. Kirk Cousins bought his money. You can go look at how much money he don't made in the NFL. He's bought his money, so I don't think he's going to get fined. I definitely think he will be there tomorrow. We should have locked up Drake by now. Yeah, man. The question is, where is the market for Drake, right? And maybe he's not ready to get locked up, right? Because Drake really has not had a breakout season that he wanted. He wanted. He has not had the breakout season that he wanted. So, you're right. And I think the Falcons kind of, if you look at their history, except for that one time they extended Julio early, they wait to, especially the first round picks, they wait to the year going into the fifth, going to the fifth year option for a guy that they're going to actually give a contract to. And this precedent, especially with this regime so far, they did it with AJ Terrell, they did it with Chris Lindstrom, right? They waited right before. They did it even with Caleb McGarry. Um, so more than likely, Drake get his contract next year, it would be nice. I agree because the market, because he could have a breakout year this year. I think he will, and then the price is going to go up. Now I don't think he's going to get to you know, to the Chase range, right? Chase making Jamar Chase making 40 million. I don't think he's there, but you got Justin Jefferson making 35, right? I think Drake right now is between 30 and 35 probably. Um, because you got guys like Waddle making 28. Um, so right around that range, T. Higgins making 28. Drake is the number one, but between 28 and 35, somewhere around that range, that's where he's going to get, man. That's the market for receivers right now. Don't think he's in close to Jamar Chase range, but he won a triple crown. But so you're right. We probably could have paid Drake earlier. Like you said, if Drake get that triple crown, we screw. Oh yeah, hey, we big screw. That happens, man. That's why you want to pay him early, and he wanted to have a breakout season this year too. Who's the greatest Falcon running back in team history, in my opinion? So great question. So I'm gonna get a little. I'm going off of when I was young. Got to go off when I was young. So I'm going to say William Andrews probably because you probably don't even remember William Andrews, but that was a long time ago. But if you go to recent times, um, I'm probably going to say either Michael Turner. I mean, Jamal Anderson was good too, but either Michael Turner or Warwick Dunn. Um, I have to go look at the numbers too, but I know Michael Turner, man, when he came here, he was special, right? That first run with with Matty Ice, first couple of years, Michael Turner was really special. Warwick Dunn was good as well. The Vic years, Dunn and Duckett, those guys was good. Um, but if you really want to go back, you have to go back to probably William Andrews. He probably the best running back in history for the Atlanta Falcons. Just just to be honest with you, but it's been some good backs, man. I love the Devontae Freeman and Telman Coleman years. I love those years, but I love Ducking and Dunn too, man. Those was some good years. Like I said, Michael Turner, Michael the Burner Turner was good. It was good years, but when it all said and done, it's gonna be B. John Robinson. I'm just gonna go and put it out there right now. It's gonna be B. John Robinson. Mike already gave Drake his contract. He said 4 year, 33 million per year, 132. Hey, how much guaranteed? That's what they always gonna be in. Darmar said B John. I said when it's all said and done, it's gonna be B John. It's gonna be B John when it's all said and done. Yes. Yes. It's gonna be B John. Oh, oh yeah. Norwood, man, that kid, he was fast, man, but he was like a one trick pony, man. Because he's so fast. When he wants to get out, he's gone. So yeah, but he couldn't stay healthy, and then like he was like a one trick pony, man. But yeah, Norwood was really good. He was good, but Atlanta Falcons. If you go back and look at a lot of times they had the duo, right? We had Coleman and Freeman. We had Duckett and Dunn. We got Tyler and Bijan. You know what I'm saying? So you get that two headed horse. But I'm telling you, Will Andrews. I know, like I said, you don't remember him, but he was really good. Yeah, Jerry Norwood was fast as hell, man. He was really fast, really fast. Dunn and Decker was fire. They sure was, man. You said 80 million guarantee. Okay, I think that's a good contract, man. Go ahead and call Terry. Go ahead and call Terry up and tell him you already got a deal. Call Drake and see if they good. See if they can make it happen, man. Darmar said Aaron Metcalf was probably a favorite. Yeah, yeah, he was great too. It was great, man. What that little kid? Dang, what's his name? Other small running back they had. He didn't play here long, but he had some pretty good. Jarquez Rogers, remember Jarquez Rogers? He was pretty good. I like the way he played. I'm not putting him up high anywhere, but I like the way he played. I really did. I like the way he played. Todd Gurley let us down for all the Georgia fans. That was a disgrace. I bought a Todd Gurley jersey too, man. It just that was just a bad year for us. So, like I said, you got Terry on Twitter. Yeah, yeah. Call up Terry, man. Tell him you got the Drake deal set up. I think that's a good deal. I think it's a fair deal for both sides. So 80 mil, 132, 4 years, 33 million a year. I think that's perfect for Drake, right? I think that's his market value, right? Go ahead and lock it in because we don't want him to get that triple crown and we be asked out of luck. I really like, man, Telvin Cole, man, that go dude was special. I don't know if you guys remember, we went to Denver and we put it on them, man. And I still remember that Texas route that Telvin Coleman caught in Denver, man, and he took that thing to the house, man. We beat the brakes out of them guys, man. That was one of my favorite games. Um, I think Big Beasley had a big game that game too. But he says, yeah, Anton Smith, he was good. Yep. So Rouser just kept churning, true volume running. Yep. Marquez Rouser, he was good. He was good, man. Yeah. Who wins, Norwood Coleman or Turbo in a race? George Norwood, man. That dude was ridiculous. I'm gonna say George Norwood. That's just me. I'm gonna say George Norwood. Jerry Chase boy say Turbo. All right, guys, I'm gonna get out of here with this. Um, and I know most of you guys had a chance to see it by now. The Roddy White, the Roddy White, Julio Jones, video when they was talking about, the worst times being with the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, being with the worst times of their career, not just being with Atlanta Falcons, worst time of their career. And they both had to do with the Falcons, 100%, right? And Roddy, I think it's a shame that the way they got Roddy out of here, Kyle Shanahan, man. It's just kind of make you more and more you just like the guy because the way he handled Roddy, I don't like that. I really don't. That's why he never won the Super Bowl because he let us down in our Super Bowl and he failed in the other two. But the fact that he told Roddy, and if he told Roddy that, I don't know if you guys heard it. If you haven't, go back and look at the video. Well, when he told Roddy that he wouldn't even have him the fourth option, that's just ridiculous, man. It's stuff like that, you know. And I get it. You trying to play players out, get them off your team and things like that. But Roddy White was still a productive player. He was a leader on this team. He's in a ring of honor in the Atlanta Falcons, and the way they did him was just the way they did him was wrong. Dan Quinn being a new head coach, probably know how to handle that situation. Probably could have handled it a whole lot better, but the way they did Roddy was just messed up, man. I just wanted to say that. But the crux of it is Julio, man. Julio Jones is probably one of the best receivers to ever play in this game, like hands down. Like it's no question. what Julio Jones brought to the table. We all know this. Um, and the fact that he don't want to have nothing to do with Atlanta Falcons, it kind of hurt a little bit listening to that, man, because like he deserved to be immortalized in Atlanta Falcon history. And like we really would never know. We heard his side of the story. We heard, Arthur Blank said they tried to talk to him and stuff like that. He wanted out. So we really don't know the truth, right? We heard what Julio had to say, and you can take it and believe, everything he had to say and things like that. But I think it's just hard for me to believe that 10 years of of just magic between the franchise and one of the best players to ever play the game. And he's not like, I mean, he announced a retirement, and what we always see from guys, announce their retirement, right? They get a 1 day contract, they come back to the organization, and they retire as that team, right? It's no doubt that Julio's supposed to retire a Falcon. Like it's and so I don't know. Now he makes it seem like it's never is going to happen. Like he don't want to have nothing to do with the franchise anymore because the way he felt like he got treated on the way out, right? But man, it's no way that Julio Jones. You can't tell the Atlanta Falcons story history without putting Julio Jones in there, right? You can't even talk about Matt Ryan without putting Julio Jones in the conversation, right? So it's kind of bad, it's kind of sad, and I don't know what they could do to try to fix the situation. But Julio Jones need to go on the ring honor. I don't know who need to hear this, right? We might need to do a petition or something and get these guys together, Arthur Blank and Julio Jones, and have a kumbaya, and they come together and squash this mess, man. Because there's no way you can talk about Atlanta Falcons and you can't talk about Julio Jones, right? He needs to be in the ring of honor. It's just that simple, right? He one of the best players to ever play the game, and he one of the best Atlanta Falcons to ever play the game, right? And if you just go back and watch his games, right? Like this guy, when he was with Atlanta Falcons, he had the highest game average for receiving yards in NFL history, right? He was the Falcons. Now the average don't went down because he went to the other three teams and he then paying out like he wanted to. But when he was with Falcon, man, it's no doubt that he was one of the best receivers that ever played the game. The fact that they can't put this behind them, it sucks, man. It really does. When I listen to it, I'm like, dang, man, like they need to fix this, because I was expecting this year, just like last year, going to a game, Julio's going to be in the ring of honor. He was going to get honored. His name was going to be immortalized up, in the stadium. And the fact that he said he good, he don't have to. It's just it sucks, man. They need to fix this crap. I really do. I really believe they need to fix it. I don't know how they can fix it. Maybe his boys can talk him into it and get him to come around because both of those guys are still part of the organization. Um, maybe they can talk him to. I mean, it would be nice to see Julio at some training camp practice. Giving Drake some nuggets, man. Just like we saw Michael Vick there, we see Matt Ryan there with Michael Penix Jr. Right? We want to see the greats come back and pour into the young talent, right? And Julio coming back to the Falcons, talking to our receiver core would be something special, man. So um, I'm just here. I don't care about what happened. It's over, right? But man, when you go to the Hall of Fame, because you should be in the Hall of Fame, you go in the Hall of Fame because of what you did with the Atlanta Falcons. It's no doubt about it. And you can't say that you want to appreciate it because you were, man. You were, right? I don't know what happened at the end. They screwed up. I get it. But at some point in time, let that shit go. Come back home, get your name put up in the Raptors like you're supposed to, and retire a Falcon, bro. That's just my spiel about it. I think I think that you got to get it done. So that's why I feel about it. I just had to come out and say my piece about it. I know everybody been talking about it, all over Atlanta Falcons content creators and things like that. But my thing is, I don't care what happened. All I know is that Julio Jones was one of the best players to have played the game, not just the Falcons, the game. And he should be immortalized in the Ring of Honor as an Atlanta Falcon, right? When he go in the Hall of Fame, hopefully he goes in the Atlanta Falcons. But I think they need to squash this mess, man. Mr. Blank, get on the phone, see can you get with him, come in, squash it, squash it, squash it. He messed up, man. You feel like they screwed you, they messed up. They admit it, right? Just let's get over this crap. So let's make this thing happen. That's all I gotta say about it. If you guys got the comments on that, let me know. You've got the comments on Kirko. We'll see what if he shows up tomorrow. I think he will. Reported that he is going to show up. Mr. Armor Katie, what can he bring to the table in his contract year? Even though he probably playing for his future team, to give him a contract because I don't think it will be with the Falcons. And then our offense, could it be the best? Yes, I do believe it could be. And there you have it, guys. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.